I go network. I have a growing network of incredible entrepreneurs of which they host podcasts. And I've pitched myself to be on their show because I'm friends with them. After the show, they might ask, do you know of anybody else that might be a good guest? Guess what? I can pitch my clients if it's a good fit. It's like a 95% guarantee that if the show's a good fit for my client and I've already been on that show or they're a friend of mine, they will say yes. Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women, Renee here coming at you with another solo episode of Into the Wild. And today we're talking quickly about why PR agencies and marketing agencies, but specifically PR agencies, require many retainer-based clients to sign a 6-month or 1-year contract. Now, I came across a post by a gentleman named Paul, and I'm going to go through this, but I shared this on social the other day. So this was like October 23rd, I shared this, and I got a lot of DMs because of it. So before we dive in though, I do want to say, if you've ever done PR before, you know it takes a long time, or if you've ever worked with an agency before, you know that it can take time to actually start seeing results. Most people think is you just throw a pitch together, you start pitching, and the journalists are going to bite. There are so many nuances to public relations, but before we get going, because like I say, PR is the mother of all marketing because it is about public relations, as in you building relationships with the public. I do want to say this. If you are available to do this right now in this moment, I would love for you to leave me a review on Into the Wild on iTunes. So if you go, leave me a 5-star review, just a couple words. It gives me a better chance of getting in front of more women like you to give them the best advice to help them build the confidence and authority to grow their business. So head on over to iTunes. If you're on your iPhone, you can scroll down. If you look at the other reviews, you can actually click to give me 5 stars or write a review. Super appreciated. The more love you can share, the more love that we can spread across this community. So getting into this quick rant, I'm going to read you what I wrote on Instagram. So if you're not following me, head over to Instagram, go to Renee_Warren. So Paul says, why do PR firms ask for a 1-year contract? They lack confidence in their ability to demonstrate value each month? I replied, not to him, but on social. I wrote, no, Paul, journalists write stories based on a pitch they could have come in a year ago. The strategy alone should take over a month. If you're asking us to understand your entire business philosophy and put a plan in place in less than that, we will fail. We aren't magicians. Great PR pros customize every pitch, which means taking hours to ensure the contact is the right person and it's the right time, not to mention the personalization that goes into each pitch. Now, seeing as you aren't paying probably more than $5,000 a month, you're likely wondering, what the heck is this PR person doing with their hours? Because that's real money to you. There is no doubt. Simple. For me, I am tweaking the pitches, scanning the queries, responding to emails and messages, expanding the media list, preparing you for an interview, scouring for opportunities, refining your press page, and more. With an industry average win rate of 18 to 20% for podcast pitches, Paul, if you want to be on 50 shows, that means I have to pitch 280 to 300 shows, which ends up being about 50 hours just for pitching. And let's not forget too, while I'm actively pitching, you're also emailing me about other things that are going on. This is notorious for clients. And not to throw them under the bus, they're like, hey, I have you on retainer, so I'm going to throw all this at you. So while I'm dealing with the communications and the reporting and refining and fine tuning of all that stuff, I'm still doing the pitches. PR is not like advertising where you can gauge the success of an ad within days. PR is about building your authority and increasing your credibility. It's a marathon. If you want the instant home run, then this is not for you, Paul. If you want the big league results with the backyard pay, you won't find that here or with any reputable PR pro. A 1-year contract is normal, respectable, and often essential to build a world-class strategy to get you results. So I wrote that and I got a bunch of comments and a lot of DMs, a mic drop. Anna Kornick says, thank you for articulating so beautifully what many of us have encountered before. A former ad agency partner was so frustrated when I couldn't provide him with a consistent media pitch conversion rate. That's not a thing in PR. And there's other comments, beautiful. So go check it out. But really what I wanted to say today is the idea is that most PR pros, agencies, publicists, they will ask you to sign a longer term contract because they know it takes time to build the assets and then do the pitching and the follow up. But also know outside of the daily actions that PR pros take on a daily basis is the fact that, here's an example, is some journalists can take upwards to a year to publish content. A perfect example is a publicist that said and explained a story about how they confirmed a certain influencer or it was an entrepreneur for a Times article. They did the interview, the journalist wrote the piece, submitted it to the editor, and that piece, outside of the journalist's control, completely out of their control, that piece was published a year later, a whole 12 months later. And you can imagine that entrepreneur was like, you promised me this timepiece. Why isn't it live yet? The journalist is like, that's out of my hands. So if you look at like the flow of it, it's like clients' expectations of the publicists reaching out to the journalist not having any control for the most part of when things get published. And then so there's so many layers of what's involved. And I'm not making this an excuse for people, publicists that are not great at what they do. Because the reality is there are some really great ones out there and there are some terrible ones out there. But I also will say this, is all of this takes time. It's a marathon. And the wins come with momentum and over time. Because, I mean, you look at some big companies, there's a really famous coffee scrub company out of Australia. I watched the press that they were garnering for a while, and it was like really good for about 3 months, and then there was nothing. But they still had a full-time PR person, I think, in-house, pitching all the time. So you're probably wondering, well, then why did the media stop talking about them? It's because it got boring. They probably weren't publishing new products. They probably weren't doing any sort of collaborations or anything new and exciting. I always say, in order to get news, you need to create news. You need to create something that is newsworthy, or else you will not get the attention. And so this is why it takes time. So right now, at the time of this recording, it's early November. I've been telling my clients, hey, if you have any sort of involvement with Valentine's Day, you should start working on that pitch and start pitching that list right now. And arguably, it's too late because journalists start publishing stuff right after Christmas and obviously into January. Why? Is because those publications want to rank for those Google search terms. And that's just an example. The same can be said for stuff that's happening for Easter or Mother's Day or back to school. So you have to work backwards by a minimum of 3 months. Big events like Christmas time, people are already pitching listicles and gift guides in July. So it takes time. So if you're asking a publicist or a journalist, a PR pro to get you all this media coverage in a short amount of time, it's going to be very difficult. And the only way I don't want to say guarantee because you can never guarantee PR results, but one of the sure ways to get more notable mentions is probably to hire somebody in-house full-time that's all they're going to do is pitch, right? But you can do that, which is probably great for some companies, but then you also risk hiring somebody who doesn't have those connections. And that's the big thing is the more connections you build in the industry, typically the easier it is for that person to pitch and to get a yes or a no. Like, for instance, I go network. I have a growing network of incredible entrepreneurs of which they host podcasts. And I've pitched myself to be on their show because I'm friends with them. After the show, they might ask, do you know of anybody else that might be a good guest? Guess what? I can pitch my clients if it's a good fit. It's like a 95% guarantee that if the show's a good fit for my client and I've already been on that show or they're a friend of mine, they will say yes. Question for you. What is something that helps to build reputation, increase demand for your expertise, expand your network, increase your credibility, increase relevance, allows you to take better control of your message and perception, helps you to get more recognized, and is the most trusted form of marketing out there? It's public relations. And I know if you're listening to this show, it means that you are ripe and ready to unlock the next version of your business. I also know that you probably don't have an extra $30,000 sitting around to hire an expert agency that can do this for you. What if I had a simple solution that could help you achieve all of the above without the hefty price tag? What if I told you that you could have a custom world-class PR strategy built for you in a day with all the necessary videos to show you how to implement and integrate the strategy into your everyday business function? How would you feel? Well, I've got some great news for you. I have created the ultimate VIP day that allows you to play a bigger game with the guidance of a veteran publicist who will create your custom strategy with a vetted media list, creative pitch templates, and all the PR fixings you need to get way more recognition for yourself and your business. And it is a simple solution that you and your team can implement the next day. I promise you, this has been done by dozens already with some incredible results. It is called the VIP Day. It's that simple. It is the We Wild Women VIP Day. If you go to wewildwomen.com/VIP Day to learn more, you can either apply or you can reach out to me on Instagram at Renee_Warren to learn more about the VIP Day and how this can help you and your brand unlock the next level. That's wewildwomen.com/VIP Day. If you hire a publicist who is very specific in an industry and a niche, it'll be easier. So you don't want to be in like the baby motherhood arena if all you've been doing is PR for like the automotive industry. You'd have to rebuild those connections and network. So you want to work with somebody in PR who has the expertise in your industry, who has that track record. And then if they're newer or smaller, then it'll take just more time, but they probably shouldn't be charging all that much. Like a professional that's been in the industry for years should be charging. But it does take time. A strategy can take the better part of a month, even more, right? And then there's fine-tuning the strategy. Yesterday, even though so my assistant, my team, they already built out a very detailed vetted list. And the goal is to pitch 10 podcasts a week for certain clients. So all I ask of them is that the media list is growing and they're adding 10 new shows to the bottom of the media list that are completely vetted. This means they take guests, they're active, the industry is relevant to them, the audience wants and needs to hear from them. Even though that work is done, which takes a lot of time. And by the way, we're building out templates for this too. So we'll give you some affordable media list templates and lists that you'll be able to download and use yourself. But even though that list is already created, it can take me still 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes to go and pitch one of those hosts. And you're probably thinking, well, Renee, you're not an expert if that's how long it takes. The truth is, I am an expert because it takes me that long. Even though it's vetted, I will go to their host's social media account. I will listen to a few new episodes. I will get a sense again of what it is that they're trying to accomplish, the mission for their show. Are they available? Are they traveling? Are they on holiday? They just have a baby? Or are they on mat leave? There's a lot of factors that go into play. And so it takes me that time. And then even though I have a template pitch for the client that's already been approved, I still use bits and pieces of that, but each pitch is customized for that specific host. So it could be relating to something that they've just done. If they did a marathon or they've gone to Disney, I will inject that. And why is because they know this person has taken at least a handful of minutes to determine where I am in my life. Or also, this is the right show for them because I'm not going to be pitching a sales pro to a show that focuses just on the tech of a SaaS company. It's probably not the right fit. And so it can take you that long to do it right. And here's the part that is so defeating and deflating in PR is that even though it took me 2 hours to pitch 2 podcasts the other day, I might not get a reply. Even though I've done everything and I'm not biased in the sense that because they're my client, I think they're a good fit. No, I don't work like that. That's why it takes a long time. But I could say that based on my knowledge, I think they are a perfect fit or else I wouldn't have pitched that show. And the host still might not reply or still may say it's not a good fit. So we don't see that in other marketing. If you did the same amount of effort into writing a really great ad and having like great videos or a photo shoot, and you put it out there into the universe, you'll know relatively quickly within a few days whether or not that ad is converting as you expected. We don't know that with PR. It's almost like sometimes your pitches go into the abyss. Did they get it? Did they open it? Now, there are tools and tips that we use so that we know if things have been received or open or links have been clicked. You can actually DM me, Renee_Warren on Instagram to ask about some of the tools that we use. But sometimes you just never know. So you might put in all this effort and think, gosh, was that for nothing? And here's the thing, going back to the example of that journalist too, is like outside of podcasting or even in podcasting, they may have received the pitch and they won't get back to you for months. I've received replies to hosts of which I pitched and followed up with. They've gotten back to me like 2 or 3 months later. And they're like, hey, sorry, was on vacation, even though I didn't know this because I pitched them right as they were leaving to go on vacation, or they were traveling or something came up. And so just because you haven't heard a reply doesn't mean that they won't get back to you. All this coming back to the purpose of this episode in explaining that PR takes time. So if you are in the business of vetting to work with a publicist or to work with a PR expert or agency, just know, expect to be signing a 6 to 12 month contract. Anything less is probably not the work that you're really seeking. You won't get too many big results on a retainer that's smaller than that. Now, that being said, is we always aim to get big home runs for our clients within the first few weeks. If that means a quick pitch just to get a quick win under our belts, because clients like to see that there's momentum and that we're not lazy, that we're doing the work. But also, it does take that time. It takes the time to understand your business philosophy. It takes the time to understand what it is you're really trying to achieve with PR, to understand the ideal customer, to build out the media list, the pitches. And let me tell you, I'll pitch an angle maybe 5 to 10 times. And if I don't receive a reply or any sort of bite from that, I go back and I iterate it. So think, it takes a month to build the strategy. It takes days to write the perfect pitch angle because it's like a creative writer. You write, take a break, come back to it, brainstorm, talk to the client, change things. It takes a while. So then you get this thing that you think is like the perfect pitch, and you pitch it 5 or 10 times, you don't hear back. It's like, okay, well, what's wrong? Are the links accurate? Is the subject line getting open or not? Like, is the pitch too long? Should we include different links? Are there bullet points? Is this not the right story angle? There's so many things. So it's like you come back to this pitch now that you've tried a few times, it's not working. How can we make it better? Do we make it shorter? Do we need to include something else? We don't know until you keep testing and iterating. That's why it takes so long. So working with a PR professional, you might say, okay, here's my list of 150 people, go and pitch them. It might shock you if they're only tackling 20 pitches a month. It might shock you. And I still think that's a great number. Our average is about 10 podcast pitches per week if you're on a podcast tour, which is a lot, actually. There's some publicists that pitch 6 a month and they charge what I charge. So all this to say, coming back to this full circle, is that PR is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And beyond those like yeses to podcasts, beyond the wins you get mentioned in the media, that's like the ultimate end result of what it is we're trying to achieve. However, all the process and the minutia of the things that we're creating in the strategy and on the day-to-day matter. They matter so much. especially the expectation setting and creating your standard operating procedure for PR. So again, if you want to hear more about the services that we offer, you can go to wewildwomen.com. We have 2 programs. Our most notable one is the Authority Booster Intensive. That is your PR VIP day, as well as the Sidelines to Headlines program, where you work with our team on a retainer-based program to get you the media coverage you deserve. So that's it for now. Until next time, ladies, peace out. So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time: the best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.